Okay, I'm going to be talking through factorising when you have a cubic term in front of your x squared term, which is a new idea for the AS syllabus. Ideas you should already be familiar with. Question 1 and question 2. I've already done question 1, so I would have thought you'd find it pretty easy. In terms of 5x and the 6, you're looking for terms that add together to make 5, times together to make 6. So in that case, it would be positive 2 and positive 3. Because these two terms are timesing each other to make 0, then either this bracket here, so this x plus 2 must equal 0, or this x plus 3 must equal 0. So take the plus 2 over to the other side, you get minus 2. Take the plus 3 to the other side, you get minus 3. So if I want to chuck that into here, I get minus 2 squared, which is positive 4. Plus 5 times minus 2, which is minus 10. 4 minus 10 is minus 6, and then minus 6 plus 6 is to 0. And the same would be true if I chucked in minus 3. So if I chucked in minus 3, I get minus 3 squared, which is positive 9, plus 5 times minus 3, which is minus 15. That goes again to minus 6. Minus 6 adds 6 is back to 0. But if I chuck in any other numbers, so if I chucked in like minus 1 squared is positive 1. Plus 5 times minus 1 would be minus 5, so 1 minus 5 would be minus 4, but then plus 6 is equal to 2, so that wouldn't work. So they're my only answers for that. For this one here, it's a similar idea. You're still looking, this middle term is what they add to. So this minus 7 is what they add to, but you need to do a trick first where you multiply together the first and the last term. So if I times those two together, I get minus 30. So now I'm looking for a pair of numbers that times together to give minus 30 and add to minus 7. Now the fact they multiply to a negative tells you that it must be one of each sign. The chance of you guessing that first off is slim. Okay, you've got to go through this sort of process in your head. So a pair of numbers that times together to make 30, no 5 and 6. 5 take away 6 is minus 1, so it's not minus 7. So if I tried maybe 15 and 2, 15 times 2 is minus 30, but that makes positive 13, so that's nowhere near. What about plus 3 minus 10? Bingo. Minus 3 times 10 is minus 30, but then plus 3 take away 10 is minus 7. Now the way I've been teaching you is that if you do the 2x squared, you just write it as 2x in each bracket and put in the plus 3 in one, and then the minus 10 in the other, but then you must cancel down your brackets if one cancels. This one here doesn't. There's no number that goes into 2 and 3, but there is a number that goes into this, which is 2. You literally just halve the pair of them. And then let's do a quick check. 2x times x is 2x squared, and plus 3 times minus 5 is minus 15. So that works fine. So then in this case, either the 2x plus 3 must equal 0, or the x minus 5 must equal 0. So this would be 2x equals minus 3, so x equals minus 3 over 2, or we just get x equals 5. Okay, so if I chucked in 5 into that, I'd expect that to go to 0, and likewise with if I chucked in minus 3 over 2 or minus 1.5 into that, I'd expect it to equal 0. The big idea we're looking at in this video is how do we start to do that when we start looking at numbers with cubics in them, or expressions with cubics in them. Okay, so what I do is I sort of just have a guess to see if I can find an integer and stick it into this and find it equal to 0. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chuck in just any number I want to begin with. So the first one I'm looking at here, I could chuck in 1, I could chuck in 2, I could chuck in 3. I think I'm going to chuck in 1 and see what I get here. So we say in this notation, we say f of 1, which means I'm just subbing in 1. I'm going to get 1 cubed minus 2 lots of 1 squared minus 19 times 1 plus 20. So 1 cubed would just be 1, minus 2 times 1 squared would be minus 2, minus 19 times 1 would be minus 19, plus 20. So if I look at that, I get 1 minus 2 is minus 1, minus 19 is minus 20, plus 20 equals 0. So I know that one of my solutions is x equals 1. But what I want to do is I want to get it in a bracket form like I had before. So I'm going to take over this positive 1 to become a negative 1, say minus x minus 1 equals 0, and then I can say therefore x minus 1 is a factor. Now it's a factor because it subs into that and that goes to 0. If it went to any other number, it wouldn't be a factor. A factor divides something, leave no remainder. So what I'm going to do now is a new idea. I'm going to do x minus 1 here. Okay, now I'm trying to see how many times x minus 1 goes into this thing I've got up here. So I have a big bracket here, but I can tell you already the very front term and the very end term. To make x cubed, x times what makes x cubed? The answer is x squared. X times x squared makes the x cubed. And I can also do the same to get the last term here, this plus 20. So to get the plus 20, minus 1 times what makes plus 20? Well, that would be minus 20. Okay? To get the middle term now, I either need to focus on getting the x squared term or the x term, and I'm going to go for the x squared term. So I want to make that term there. So the first way I can see about making x squared, in my terms, is doing minus 1 times x squared. That gives me minus x squared. Now when this multiplies by an x term, that will also give me a term in x squared. And I know that overall I have to make minus 2x squared. So if I just show that in the video there. So minus x squared, and then what do I need to do to that to turn that into minus 2x squared overall? Well, I need to take away x squared again. So x times what makes minus x squared? Well, the answer would be minus x. X times minus x makes minus x squared. So minus x squared makes minus 2x squared. Now just to show that it could have been done the other way as well, let's say x minus 1, and then I'm going to write again the x squared and the minus 20 here, and that was from the same logic as before. If I wanted to go and make minus 19x here, how can I make x already looking at these terms? Well, I can do those two times each other to get minus 20x. Now I know overall I need to make minus 19x. So I'm looking at that and saying, what do I do to minus 20x to get minus 19x overall? And the answer must have been, I must have added x to that. So this needs to times by something to make positive x. So a minus times by a minus x, minus 1 times minus x will give me a positive x. And as you can see, I've got the same brackets in each solution. Okay? So from here, how do I solve that to get terms of equals to 0? Well, I know x minus 1 and then x squared minus x minus 20 must equal 0. Well, that term's already done for me, but this term I just need to factorise, just using skills we've already used. So I'm looking for a pair of numbers that times to minus 20 and add to minus 1, so that would be x minus 5 and x plus 4. So then I know that my solutions to this are x equals 1, x equals 5, and x equals 4. Let's have a go at another one. It's after a couple of examples you'll feel a lot more confident. So if I look at number 2 here, what I want to do is I want to start by guessing a number that goes into it. So I'm going to start by doing f of 1. So you'll have to guess this in the exam questions that we're going to do later. F of 1, I get 1 cubed minus 10 lots of 1 squared plus 31 times 1 minus 30. So that's going to give me 1 minus 10 plus 31 minus 30. Now I don't actually have to go and work that out if I can see that it's clearly not going to make 0. I can see that it's not. I'm going to get 1 plus 31, which is 32, and then I'm going to take away 10 and then take away 30. So that's clearly not going to 0. So I'm going to say not equal to 0. I'm going to try now f of 2. So I'm going to get 2 cubed minus 10 lots of 2 squared plus 31 times 2 minus 30. So I'm going to get 8 minus 40, because 2 squared makes 4, then times it by 10, 40, plus 32 minus 30. The 8 plus the 62 would give me 70, minus 40 minus 30 would be minus 70, so that is going to equal to 0. So that means x equals 2 is one of the solutions, but if I take the plus 2 over to the other side, I get minus 2 equals 0. So x minus 2 is a factor. Okay, so I'm going to write here now, just underneath, say x minus 2, and then I'm going to do a big bracket here, and I'm going to try and work out what goes at the front of that bracket and what goes at the end of that bracket. Now to get x cubed, x times what makes x cubed? It must be x squared. And similarly, if you come to the end, to get minus 30, minus 2 times what makes minus 30? Well, that must be plus 15. So I can get the front and the end term. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the x squared terms again. But I could have got x's, it really doesn't matter. So minus 2 times x squared will give me minus 2x squared. Then this x times by another x term will give me another term in x squared. And I know it's got to make a total of 10x squared. So that means I need to take away 8x here. So if I take away 8x from that, or what? Oh, sorry, 8x squared. X times what makes 8x squared? It would be minus 8x. So now I've got my expression as x minus 2, and then x squared minus 8x plus 15 equals 0. What I must do now is I must try and factorise this one here. So a pair of numbers that times together to make 15, and they add together to make minus 8. So that would be minus 3 and minus 5. So my solutions are x equals 2, x equals 3, and x equals 5. Third example. So after this one, I'm hoping you're going to start feeling a bit more confident. I've done the hard work for you this time. I've told you what the factor is. So I can write down here x plus 3, and then a big bracket here, and then put it equal to 0. Now I can go and work out the first and the last term every time. So I know that's got to make 2x cubed, so this must be 2x squared, because 2x squared times x would make 2x cubed. This one here, to get a plus 9 on the end, that must have been a plus 3. Okay, so then from there, I'm going to look for, I like to just do the x squared terms, but it really doesn't matter. I could go and find the x terms, I could go and prove it again after if I want to. I'm going to get plus 6x squared with that one. This one here, I'll get another one, but I need to work out what it's going to be. And I know altogether that my total should be 11x squared. So that means I need to make plus 5x squared here. So x times what makes plus 5x squared? Well, that would be plus 5x there. Okay, so that means I've got x plus 3, and then I've got 2x squared plus 5x plus 3 equals 0 here. So what I need to try and do now is factorise that bracket there. So I'm going to get x plus 3, I'm going to get 2x in there. So I need to multiply 2 times 3. So they times together to make 6, and they add together to make 5. A pair of numbers that times together to make 6 and add together to make 5 are plus 3 and plus 2. And I must cancel down any brackets I can spot. The first one I can't, second one I can't, but then the third one I can divide both by 2, so I get x plus 1. So my solutions to that would be x equals minus 3, x equals minus 3 over 2, and x equals minus 1. Okay? Right then. Let me just go and show you that I could go and do that way by getting the 18x instead. So I could have had x plus 3. We've already worked out what's at the front and what's at the end, so we know that's 2x squared. We know that's plus 3. But this time instead, I will go and work out the x's. So I would get x multiplied by 3, give me plus 3x. My total is going to be plus 18x. So that means this guy here would have to give me plus 15x. So 3 times what gives me 15x plus 5x. And it gives exactly the same answer as the one above. Okay, then pause the video and have a go at this one here. Again, I've gone and found the first bit for you. I'm telling you that x plus 3 is a factor. So have a quick pause, and then I'll go through the answer. Okay, and so going through this one, I'm going to get x plus 3 by here, and then in my big bracket, x times what makes 6x cubed? Well, that's just going to be 6x squared. And then x times, sorry, not x, sorry, 3 times what makes minus 6 at the end here? Well, that's got to be minus 2. So, getting the x squared the same, or the x's, again, I like to just work out on the x squareds. So I'm going to make this guy the same. So far, that 3 times 6x squared would give me plus 18x squared. So this guy is x times by something, is going to give me something else x squared, and my total has got to be 19x squared, or plus 19x squared. So this must have just been plus x, so that means, sorry, x squared, so this must have been plus x here, because x times x makes x squared. So what I need to do now is write down my solution. So I'm going to get x plus 3, and then I have 6x squared plus x minus 2 equals 0. So then I'm going to have x plus 3, I'll have 6x and 6x again equal to 0. And from here, I now need to work out what numbers go in this bit and this bit. So 6 times minus 2, careful with that one, is minus 12. And they add together to make plus x or plus 1x. So a pair of numbers that times together to minus 12 and they add to plus 1 would be positive 4 and negative 3. But I must cancel down any brackets that I can, so the first one's fine. There's nothing to cancel there, but 6 and 4 are both even, so let's halve both of those, so 3x plus 2. And these are both multiples of 3, so that would become 2x minus 1 equals 0. So x equals minus 3, or x equals minus 2/3, or x equals a half. Okay, basically what this does is if I gave you that graph to draw, it would be like a cubic graph doing something like that, and we've then gone and found its roots. So minus 3, minus 2/3 and a half, so this one would be minus 3, this one would be minus 2/3, and this one would be a half. Okay, that's what this idea does.